The month is winding down, and that means it's time for the Maybe series. Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and today is the February 2024 Maybe series. So, if you're new here, the Maybe series is a little list of books I compile towards the end of the month of what I'm interested in reading or what I might read for the upcoming month. So I'll put a little picture of it here, and I'll talk a little bit about why it's on the list. I don't really get too deep into the synopsises or anything. They're just books that have caught my eye or I'm interested in reading for the upcoming month, and I will choose my final lineup from this list. I usually read 3 or 4 books a month, and then there's always a spot on my list for my book club book. I run a book club, and yeah, I don't really have a lot of control over that, so it usually doesn't fit with a theme if my month has a theme, which sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. It just depends. Before we get into it, make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week, and all we do on this channel is talk about books. So if you like listening to people talk about books, here I am every week doing just that for you. So February is Black History Month. So my maybes list today is all BIPOC books, which I'm so excited about. Like, that was a goal for 24 and for 23, was to read more BIPOC books, and I think I did pretty good in 23, but I want to try and bump that number up a little bit more in 24, and what better way than to diversify during Black History Month. Just to be clear, diversify all year. Just do it all year. It's so great. There are so many amazing books by BIPOC and POC authors, and if you haven't given it a shot yet, you really should. There's just so many amazing books out there. So I compiled my list today for the Maybe series, and it's all BIPOC books. Like I said, my book club book has already been selected, and it doesn't really fall in that category. I didn't have a lot of control over what was chosen for this month. So all I can do is my best to diversify my own personal bookshelf, which is what we're going to be doing throughout the year. But yes, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. Okay, the first book on the list is One Night in Georgia by Celeste O. Norfleet. Okay, this cover is giving me all the vibe. So, I actually saw this at my library, on a little poster kind of thing, supporting Black authors and things like that. So I ended up looking into it, and this is set around the time of the MLK and the JFK assassinations. And there's a lot of really cool undertones from that time period. It also said that this group of friends that are in college, group of women that are in college, are going to Washington for some protests and stuff, and this is sort of their journey of getting through that. And in the description, it kind of went into how different all of these 3 women of color are, their different backgrounds, and how they're not all cut from the same childhood, if that makes any sense. So I think their representation in this book is going to be amazing. They also talk about, this is all just in the description. Haven't even read the book. This is all just in the description about how they're trying to get through sundown towns, about how they're a group of women traveling with one man that isn't that well known to them. It's a friend of a friend, and they're trying to get to Washington. And also that a white man ends up dying on this road trip, and one of these women of color is the one that is holding the gun. A lot sounds like it's happening in this book. A lot of really good references, a lot of good really conversations I think that we're going to be able to have from this book. The cover is giving everything, and I really love this time period. This was around the time when the civil rights movement was really starting to peak, and everyone was really getting involved, and change was really starting to become a reality and a possibility. But along with that came a lot of hardship and pain and suffering. Yes. So I'm really interested in this book. If you can't tell, I just said I wasn't going to go into the synopsis, but the synopsis on this was so jam-packed full of stuff. I felt like I had to share it with you guys. I'm really interested in this book, and this is exactly the kind of book that I want to be reading right now. I just feel like there's going to be a lot of parallels also to what's happening right now in real time with our social and political standpoints and everything. I feel like there's going to be a lot of parallels. which I think is, you know, sad in its own way. Yeah, really interested in this one. The next book on my list is The Summer We Got Free by Mia McKenzie. I'm 100% going to be honest, don't know what this book is about, right? Can't recall what it's about, what it centers around, nothing like that. But Mia McKenzie wrote Sky Falling. I loved that book. I absolutely adored Sky Falling. And this one is just as highly rated as Sky Falling is, so I feel like I will love it too. Mia McKenzie centers around women of color, but also centers around LGBTQ plus representation too. Like Sky Falling was jam-packed with both of those, and so I'm hoping this one will also be packed full of those. But yeah, Mia McKenzie, brilliant, and I really want to see if Sky Falling was a one-off or if I just really like Mia McKenzie. So this one on the list, if this does not get read this month, I want to read this year. So that's a goal. The next book on the list is Take My Hand by Dolen Perkins-Valdez. Okay, this was on a maybes list last year, and I had it in my possession. And I didn't read it in time, and I was like, I'll just renew it and read it next month. It was on hold for somebody else, so I had to return it unread, and it literally broke my heart. I wanted to read it so bad because this is like this is based on historical events that actually happened. This is about medical inconsistencies or depravities for women of color, and especially like young women of color. And I think this was set in the 50s, if I'm not mistaken. This book has been recommended to me so many times. Like I said, it was on my list last year to read. Like, I feel like it was in the summer, and I just didn't get to it. I really want to read it. If not this month, I want to read it this year, because this sounds just profound to me. The next book on my list is Cinderella by St. Lynn. Okay, I got this on Stuff Your Kindle Day, and it is like Black trans Cinderella. I started this. It's super, super short. I started this last summer. It was one of those things where I had it on my Kindle, and I took my Kindle somewhere like the park or something like that, and I literally just opened it and started reading it while I was sitting there hanging out. And then life just like got super busy, and I didn't finish it. So it's almost like halfway read, and I really, really liked what I had already read of this. So this would be an easy one for me to just like finish and close out. But yeah, lots of great rep in this book, and it's super short, so it would be easy for me to finish. Oh my gosh, you guys, like every book on this list, every book I'm like, oh, I really want to read it. Oh, I really want to read it. I can't read all of them this month. I can't read all of this. I even kept the list short. It's only 6 books. I even kept the list like super short, and I'm like, oh my god, I love all of them. The next one is The Vanishing Half by Bennett. Okay, Brit Bennett wrote The Mothers, which I read. I read this book a while ago. I still think about this book. I think that the way that Brit Bennett put The Mothers together was so brilliant. It was just an intricate novel that broke my heart in so many different ways, like on so many different levels. And the social aspect, the community aspect of this book was just so... I hated it and loved it at the same time, if that makes any sense. Like, it broke my heart. The social aspect of this book, the community aspect of this book completely broke my heart, in the best way, I guess. When I saw this book on a recommended list, and I saw Brit Bennett, I was immediately like, oh my gosh, I have to look into this book because I loved The Mothers by Brit Bennett. This is about, first of all, the cover. Okay, a moment for the cover. This is about a set of twins, women of color, that struggle with being identical, if that makes sense. One of them is not as dark as the other. And this is sort of a large conversation on what it means to be white passing. And this is a huge topic of conversation in the BIPOC community. This is something that is discussed heavily among people of color, and also brought to the attention of like the white communities recently. And I think there's just going to be a lot of really interesting conversations in this book. Like I said, the mothers, she did not hold back. Brit Bennett did not hold back on the intricacies of that community and how people were also like loving you, but also loving you in a way that was so painful to love someone. And I think that she's probably going to dive into a lot of those intricacies in this specific topic. Like I said, I haven't read anything that has such a like profound statement in it, because it says that exactly in the synopsis. And I don't think I've read anything that was so blatant about it in the synopsis. So that means to me that I don't think Brit Bennett's going to hold back here. I think there's going to be a lot poured into this book, and I'm really interested to see what that looks like. Like I said, there's so many good books on this list. I don't know how I'm going to pick. And the only thing I'm going to say is like, well, if I don't read it this month, it's going to have to get read this year. This has to get read this year. This and like every other book on this list, because they all sound really good. Okay, this is the last one. I told you all this list was short. I told you it was short because like I kept adding them and I kept thinking, how am I going to pick? And so I just had to stop. Because I was like, I already have a lot and I'm not going to be able to pick. So yeah, the last one is Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. If you've been here a minute, you know that Tiffany D. Jackson and me have a little bit of a love-hate relationship. I love her writing. I love her stories. I love her characters. A lot of her stories are based on court cases that are real, that she fictionalizes and turns into a fictional novel. So like Grown, it was very heavily mentioned in the author's notes that like this is not by R. Kelly, but also fuck R. Kelly. So I'm not saying that book's about that specific person, but Tiffany D. Jackson also said it's not about that specific person. Wink, wink. Anyway, so the reason I have a love-hate relationship with Tiffany Jackson is because about, I want to say it's like 2 of the books I've read have just ended so angrily, like just a complete drop-off turn of events in the last final pages with no follow-up. I think there's only been one Tiffany D. Jackson book I've read that I've loved start to finish, and that was Grown. Because I did like the way that she ended that book. I felt complete and whole. And then the other ones I've read by her, I felt like she pulled the rug out from under me in the last few pages and just said, sorry, not sorry, and walked away from me while I was laying on the floor. So Monday's Not Coming has been on my list for a long time. First of all, the cover. A moment for the cover. Everyone's covers today are just lovely. This is about 2 teen girls that are best friends, and one of them goes missing. And basically there is a lack of urgency from this young woman's parents to find their missing daughter, which causes the best friend to be like, I'm gonna find her because WTF, why does nobody care that she's not here? And so this kind of spirals into her trying to find her best friend and uncovering what exactly happened to her. I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant because Tiffany D. Jackson has really put me through the ringer. She really has. But the thing is, her characters, beautifully done. The storytelling is immaculate. I love how she writes. I love how she pours into her characters. I love her writing style. She keeps me engaged the whole time. I love it. But she has hurt me so many times now that I just don't know. I don't know if I can continue loving her when she doesn't love me the same way. We shall see. This is the only book on the list where I'm like, because of how I've been burned by her books before. But Monday's Not Coming has been on my list for a very long time. And so I had to throw her in here because why not? It's been on my list forever, and I do love the way Tiffany G. Jackson writes. Okay, that's it. That's everything. I know, really short, really simple today, but that's the maybe series. It's always kind of short and simple. Unless we're in a month where I just go crazy and have like 10 books on the list. Which I didn't want to do that this month. First of all, okay, February is the shortest month. So I don't have a ton of time to play around, right? Like I have to make decisions right now. It's like the first couple days in January or February. I have to make decisions right now. I can't lollygag, and I have to be committed to whatever it is I'm reading. So the list is short. The list is so strong though. I don't know how I'm gonna pick. I really don't. If you've read any of these titles and you're like, yes, absolutely read this, it was fantastic, please let me know in the comments so I can maybe you can help me like make a final decision. All the books on the list today sound really good, and I really highly encourage you to read an author of color this month because it's Black History Month. But of course, I'm a huge advocate for diversifying all year, which is, you know, we're gonna do that this year too. So please diversify your bookshelf. It's so amazing. You don't know what you're missing. I wish I was a fantasy girly. I really do, because there are so many amazing fantasy books by Black authors. Really, there are so many that are just so beautifully done. I'm just not a fantasy girly. I really just don't love fantasy like other people do, or you know, if that's like your favorite genre. It's not my favorite genre, and so I tend to just not read them. I keep feeling like I should give them a go, especially since there's so many great ones by women of color that have been coming out so strongly. Not just coming out, like so many women of color have been publishing these books for so long and they've just not gotten the recognition that they deserve, but they're finally getting the recognition they deserve now. Yeah, I wish I loved it. I wish I loved it. I think I need to give it a go and just see if there's one I can get attached to that I really like. But yeah. Also, why are they so long? They're like 400 to 500 pages. Oh, I can't read that, y'all. I get so tired. Man, I've got like a lot of issues today, apparently. Okay, make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know what I'm posting. I post every week, and please leave me a comment, follow, do all the things, whatever. And I will see you guys next week for the wrap up, which it was a decent month. I don't know. January was super weird for me. And we'll get into that next week too. But January was super weird for me, and the reading was just kind of there. And we will talk about that next week in the wrap up, and I hope to see you there. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.